9.8s are considered near mint to mint, which means they aren't perfect. But does my X-Men 221 make the cut? Watch to find out. Hey there comic fam, welcome back to Climbing Comics. In today's sesh, we'll be doing my next installment of comic grading using my X-Men 221, which definitely does have some defects, but does the type of defect and the amount of defect drop it down below that 9.8? That's what I want to ask today. Over these past couple months, we've taken a look at a lot of different books at a lot of different grades, ranging from 2s to the 4.5s, 6s, 8.5s, and then now we're kind of going into the 9s. I think it's important to be able to tell if a book is a 9.8 or less than a 9.8. With comic values rising over this past couple months, that difference could be on the magnitude of 2 to 3 times more of a book's worth from a 9.6 to a 9.8. Same as before, this video will be cut into 3 separate portions. The first portion will be just showing the book so you guys can make your own grades. Secondly, I'll be going over my assessment. And thirdly, I'll be doing something different today. I'll take a slabbed book from my collection that's rated at a 9.8 and take a look at the defects it currently has and compare it to what I have with my X-Men 221 to give myself an idea of if I sent this into CGC, would it be graded at a 9.8 or less? Without further ado, let's take a look at the book. Today I'll be going over the grading of Uncanny X-Men number 221, first appearance of Mr. Sinister. To go along, just like last time, I'll be using the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. And I have a quick cheat sheet here for a suggested number of allowable defects per grade. Transpose that into this section, and just like last time, I'll be using these criteria to check the grade. For example, spine ticks, edge wear, staple condition, foxing, so on and so forth. To start us off, I will be looking at the gloss to see if there's any bends. So there's a slight bend right there. That's definitely pressable to make it flat. You could kind of see the a shadow, a line shadow across about a centimeter in from the edge. That is a spine roll which can be pressed out. Looking at the back, there does not seem to be any bends. There's just like maybe some slight creases, but that could be fixed with a press. And the same as the front, you see the little spine roll shadow on the back. Looking for spine ticks. The wrap is not that great, but we will not be graded less for a bad wrap. You see this white kind of on the edge. It's kind of harder to see color breaking creases, but since it's white, they won't be color breaking. I actually maybe saw one, but I didn't see many at all actually, so just one. Slightly blunted. Slightly, but I think with a press this could be very sharp. Sharp corner up top. In the back. I see no spine ticks that cannot be pressed out. There's a slight shadow here that could be pressed out. This can just slightly abraded. That looks good. So to give me an indication, I also want to check the staples. They look to be good. In the middle, luckily it's a black middle, so we don't really see any color transfer here, but there does not seem to be any rust. Again, I like to take a look at that front cover to see if there's any issues. Nothing thus far that we didn't see in the front. And then let's take a look at the back. Nothing as well. In terms of page quality, I would call this white for the page quality. With its with the age of this book, I would definitely call this white. There were no cutouts. Pages look good. Everything looks tight. Looking at this, I really only saw maybe 1 to 2 spine ticks and 1 abraded corner. On a good day, I would actually venture and guess that this would be a 9.8. So let's take a look. I usually start off with a 5.0. I hardly saw any issues there. So let's jump forward to the 9.8. Near mint mint. Everything looks to be good. On a good day for grading, I would call this a 9.8. So please let me know your grades below in the comment section. Did I miss something? Should this be graded lower? Thanks for joining, guys. With my X-Men 221 graded at a 9.8, with some defects, I wanted to compare it to a book that I already had in my collection that was encapsulated and graded by CGC at a 9.8 to see if I also found similar defects. I found in my Sandman #1 by Neil Gaiman a couple of very similar defects. So taking a look at this 9.8, first off, I found an abraded corner here. Kind of going down the spine, you could tell that the spine was definitely, since it has a black border, it's easy to see some of the spine ticks. So you see a spine tick right there, breaking the color. Going down, you see a second spine tick right here. Going down, you see it's hard to grade because this has that black border, and with that bend, this is definitely a printing and manufacturing defect. So I don't think we are graded against that. And on the bottom left, we also see another abraded corner here. Looking at the book itself, it does look like there are very sharp corners on the top and bottom, and the front looks to be good. This actually does look to be pressed. You can see a very flat top. Looking at the back, you do see that there is that kind of slightly not so whitish borders around this, so this definitely could do with a clean. But outside of that, that's all I saw. In terms of that, I've seen 2 ticks, 2 abraded corners, and this was still rated at a 9.8. I think mainly because of manufacturing defects and printing defects, we are not graded against those because all of the books are the same. I think this at a 9.8 is fairly equivalent to my X-Men 221 at a 9.8. Alright, if you guys have any comments, please definitely put them in the comment section below, whether you think this should have been graded lower. I think this is a really cool example of comparison that 9.8 does not actually have to be perfect. We'd expect something perfect with a 9.9 or a 10.0. Thanks for joining. That was an eye-opening exercise looking at books which do have some defects but are also still considered 9.8s. Honestly, it was a little bit hard to look at some of my 9.8 slabbed books in my collection and find all those same defects that I found in that Sandman #1. By CGC's definition, 9.8s near mint to mint are a nearly perfect collectible with negligible handling or manufacturing defects. In this case, I would say the defect was noticeable, but in CGC's eyes, they were negligible. At this point, 9.6s to 9.8s, there is a little bit more subjectivity there. The lesson is, not all 9.8s are created equal. It was fun looking through my collection and seeing the slabs that were considered 9.6s and 9.8s. I definitely recommend for you guys to do the same thing. See what those small nuances are. Then you kind of have an idea of how CGC would consider those two grades. This exercise was really fun. If you guys have any stories about your slabbed books, regardless of grade, where you actually think it's graded higher or lower, please let me know in the comment section below. It's always fun to talk to my friends in the LCS about slabs that they recently got and their thoughts on the grade. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified of when I come out with new content. So from my comic journey to yours, make it your own. Thanks all. Bye.